Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have the latest update in the Macquarie Point Stadium saga in the city of Hobart in Tasmania. Some big news coming out in the last couple of days. The development application for the stadium has been submitted. And we know this is falling under the project of state significance, which the government passed for this project. So the significance of the project of state significance certification is that the stadium will be built once approved. It can't be contested. We do have a lot of NIMBYs in Tasmania who are attempting to block the construction of the Hobart Stadium. So the Liberal government getting in and classifying the stadium under that project of state significance to ensure that it does get built, and subsequently the Tasmania Devils coming into the AFL in 2028 is on track. And we did get a bunch of new information about the stadium in the last few days. The cost has blown out already by $60 million. They were saying it was going to cost $715 million initially. They are now saying it is going to cost $775 million, and state government saying they are going to cap their contribution of $375 million at that level. So the shortfall of the funding is going to have to come from the private sector. We know the federal government also contributing $240 million for this project. It was announced by Albanese earlier in the year. At this stage, that is not going up. And it does raise the question about whether this new figure of $775 million is realistic. I really don't think so. I think you are looking at $1 billion plus for this venue. We do know it does have a translucent roof. It is a very modern design. You do have the windows in the exterior. You do have the wood sort of design encompassing the stadium and also used as part of the roof. And you are going to have a bunch of infrastructure work that is going to have to be done around that Macquarie Point area to really get it up to spec in terms of its ability to host AFL games, cricket games, concerts, and all the rest of it. Now, we did also get a bunch of new renderings in the last few days. The design of the stadium was, of course, already known, but we have got some new angles. We do have some images of a potential concert. You can see there with the night sky, with the sort of blue lighting, it does look very cool. And we've also got a few images of how it is going to look from a distance, how it is going to interact with the skyline of the city of Hobart. You do see this one where it is sort of present behind the historical buildings and the harbour, but I think it doesn't look too bad. It's not an eyesore or anything. We did get that rendering by the anti-stadium group where it did look like a big concrete behemoth, and they were using that to smear the stadium. Now, we've also got confirmation that the capacity of the ground will actually be 24,500. It was previously reported that the stadium would seat 23,000 people, but they are saying it is going to have a further 1,500 standing room seats. So you can imagine for those big finals and all the rest of it, you will probably get in excess of 23,000 to that event. We have also got the costing of the translucent roof. They're saying it is going to be a $190 million addition to the stadium. It is going to be 51 meters high. It does mean you aren't going to have cricket balls sort of hitting the roof from top edges and the like. I think Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, which has been hit a couple of times in cricket games, the roof there around 38 metres. But you can see they've sort of built the roof in a semi sort of domed structure, which means the highest point of the roof is going to be located directly above the pitch. And obviously that is going to be where the apex of the ball is going to be when you do think of a top edge from a pull shot going straight up in the air. We have also got the confirmation that there is going to be no public car park at the stadium. The government's saying you should be encouraged to use public transport, including buses and ferries, as well as bicycles and also walking from the CBD. Now, no great surprise, there is going to be no car park at the stadium. Of course, a lot of modern stadiums, you don't get car parks. There is around 4,000 parking spaces available in the Hobart CBD. They are also saying there's going to be direct buses where you just park your car in surrounding suburbs and they do bus you straight into the ground. The thing about Hobart is you don't have any metropolitan rail services, unlike most of the mainland capitals, so no train available to get a large volume of people in and out of the ground. There is going to be some congestion issues given the location of the stadium on an artificial sort of peninsula adjacent to the city centre. The government also saying they are going to expand the ferry network in the city of Hobart to get people across the Derwent River, and obviously to alleviate the need for people to drive their cars over the river and sort of congest that stadium area. And there was also some concern about the cenotaph, which is a war memorial located on the hill adjacent to Macquarie Point. And the critics of the stadium were saying that the stadium was going to block the views of the cenotaph. But the government has released some renderings where they are sort of highlighting that it doesn't obscure the cenotaph too badly. And you could argue it actually does contribute to the beauty of this area, given that it is just a post-industrial wasteland at this point. And they're not really maximising some valuable real estate so close to the city. And you can also see in some of these renderings, it does sort of accentuate the roof structure. You do see how high it actually is from the waterfront in those sort of side profile wide shots of the stadium. Previously, the renderings didn't really make it obvious about how big the apex point of the roof actually was, but looking at this, it does look quite large, and it will give some degree of confidence that the ball won't be impacting the roof for cricket events. And the government also coming out and saying they are anticipating a minimum of 36 to 38 events per year, as well as an optimistic scenario of 48 to 51 events. And yeah, that is a little bit ridiculous. You are going to have 7 or 8 AFL games per year. You probably have a couple of AFLW games, around 4 Big Bash games, probably 1 Australian limited overs cricket game, and the odd A-League soccer game maybe, a pre-season rugby league game, or a low-tier international soccer game featuring the Matildas or the Socceroos. You probably do get 1 or 2 concerts, but really it's more likely you get around 20 days of events per year. It's not helped by the fact that we don't really play Test cricket in Hobart anymore, given that usually there is only 5 Test matches per summer, so it is Hobart missing out. And the Sheffield Shield cricket obviously does draw very low crowds, and you would think that that will be staying at Blunston Arena. So the government really sort of talking this up. I think most sports fans want this thing to get built. Most AFL fans wanting the Devils to come into the AFL, but they're really overdoing some of the rhetoric when it comes to talking up this stadium. They don't need to lie and say that there is going to be 40 events per year, because we all know that is completely unrealistic. So the application will be assessed by the Planning Commission of Tasmania, and that process does take up to around 12 months. And then if it is approved, it will have to be passed through both houses of parliament. There was just a state election in Tasmania not long ago, so that will be supported by the Liberal government. Labor has also come out and said we will support the stadium, given that it is going to be generating jobs. So it is really just the Greens and some NIMBYs in the city of Hobart that do oppose the stadium. The concern is that the cost will blow out to well over $1 billion. I do think that is likely, but the main thing is you do have to get shovels in the ground and get those foundations poured and the stadium construction underway before you announce that it is going up to $1 billion. And by that point, obviously everyone will say, look, you just build it, and we'll worry about the shortfall at a later date. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.